Hello and welcome to the UK column. Today I'm joined by Andrija Klaric. Andrija, many people in the UK won't know or have seen your platform in Croatia. Just tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into alternative media.
Hello, Mike, and all best to your viewers. Well, I have one platform, it's calling podcast. That means free podcast. We call this liberty here, freedom or whatever, but it's in Croatian Slobodni podcast. And I hosting guests from all around the world, mostly about global topics. We're talking about, we can say, global problems, especially what we are now facing, all this global crisis. Everything started with the pandemic crisis, now continue with this war in Russia-Ukraine war. After that, continue with the continuously climate crisis. And then we now see expanding after Trump took over office in White House. Now it seems that Europe has much more problems than we thought. And now we are covering this through my shows. People are coming mostly from the United States, but we have lots of from Europe and also from Australia and even from Russia. I had a guest from Russia who was talking about Russia-Ukraine war.
Okay, but how did you, why did you decide that you needed to speak out in the first place? How did it all begin?
Well, first, I am entrepreneur for 35 years, and I'm still entrepreneur in so different parts of activities. And I never thought just 5 years ago that I will ever be a journalist. My main occupation was economy and health fitness. And I invested in these businesses for already 35 years. And presently, I'm doing this with my daughter. We have family business, and we are running two fitness centers. And beside this, also, I'm doing some other activities in marketing. But when 2020 came and pandemic, and when I recognized what was the role of media, I said that I need to do something. First, I was fighting for my freedom to have a chance to work, because we had 2 lockdowns and my businesses almost went to bankruptcy after these lockdowns. I knew from the start that doesn't have any sense or scientific support, but anyhow politicians decide to do it. After 5 years, we all know that was completely wrong decision. Even we have now admission from them, but it's too late. Lots of businesses went to bankruptcies. I succeed to survive, but I fought hard. Even I went to jail because I opened my business in the middle of lockdown. After that, I became a civil activist because this fight didn't stop. Taking our freedom and taking our freedom rights for better good. We already see these patterns in all situations, globally situations. So that's why I recognize the same patterns, and I said, look, I need to do something. The most important thing is to give this right information to people. And then I decided to establish my podcast in 2023. Until now, I succeed to make 130 different episodes. Unfortunately, people from Croatian television, Z1, where I'm now, they recognize my job, and they offer me even one very good term for my show. And from April 2023, I am on this television also, and this television is spread all around Croatia, and that was a big advantage and big chance for me to send this message all around Croatia. We all aware that censorship was very strong and still is. Maybe a little bit less, because after Zuckerberg admitted that he was censored everything, he stopped not all the way, but he mostly stopped on Facebook. But I was aware that this censorship is, we can say, a pandemic way of fighting against viruses. And I knew that it was a huge chance for me to spread the word without censorship, because I made my own shows and I decide about my own guests, and nobody is interrupting from the side of television, and I'm very thankful for that. That's very rare in Croatia also, that we have a private independent television who are not involving in a private producing of shows. That means they are respecting free speech. And well, in the meantime, it seems so that lots of people grab attention about my show and about topics, that the most important thing, and they start to recognize this. And now even I'm surprised that in the mainstream and even in the politicians, there is a topics that I didn't thought that will be interesting for them just maybe 6 months ago. For example, we have this new law, I think it's calling chat control, where European Commission is presenting some law that they want to screen our messages before encrypting. And I knew this for 2 years already, because this law is old, from 2022. But nobody was discussing about it, and nobody saw this as a threat through free speech and privacy. But now even Croatian politicians, even not only politicians in opposition, even in the power, they recognize that maybe this can be a threat to our privacy, and now they are publicly discussing about it. I think this is a huge progress, and I think this is a sign that lots of people in Croatia who was not aware 5 years ago what is really happening, now starting to asking questions, and that is the possibility really to give them right answers.
So this is a really interesting point, and this really was because we were talking on the phone a couple of days ago, and this is why I wanted to have this conversation with you, because you know, we've known each other for a couple of years now, but over that period of time, a lot has changed, and it's changing at an ever increasing rate. And so, you know, we were talking about the relative differences in the populations of the UK and Croatia, and how much, first of all, how much awareness there is of the major events in the world, and what kind of response there is coming. So do you think that the change or the willingness of people in Croatia to engage with these topics is because you've managed to get your channel on a mainstream or a relatively mainstream platform?
Well, I hope that I had some influence on that, but for sure, much more people now discuss about this. As I said, even mainstream media now talking about, for example, this law. Even now they are asking questions about central bank digital currency. You know that in Europe is coming central bank digital euro, and in October will be one very important decision how to follow up in this. And I just saw in the mainstream 2 days ago, our governor of Croatian bank had to twice give interviews and respond on the questions. And according to this question, I see that people are afraid that this central bank digital currency is not something just so innocent. There is a chance that we can be controlled by this blockchain technology and by this implementation. And also people are afraid that our cash will be abandoned. And they're asking questions. And I'm not sure if, for example, they give this to vote in our parliament and that will pass, because people are aware that this technology is capable to be programmable. It's capable to be controlled. It's capable to implement this geofence and programmable money, for example, according CO2 emission or carbon footprint. And even that central bank, European Central Bank and Croatian Central are saying, we will not do it. We will not control. We will not implement programmable. But people don't trust. We saw that lack of trust, according to these public health agencies and the public health emergency situation of international concerns, are very low in Croatia, and is getting lower and lower because still nobody was responsible for things what they done during a pandemic. And that's why now it's not easy to convince people that it's so innocent to implement this central bank digital currency. At the same time, that will be a good chance to make better transactions, because people know technology. People knows that we don't getting nothing better, nothing what we don't already have, because we have digital money. Now, all money what we are paying through our smartphones is digital money, but it's not centralized. We have banks, and also we have now still courts. And the only way courts can decide that you can froze someone's money. But now, if everybody knows that if central bank digital currency will be implemented, that even central bank can decide by himself to froze your money. And this is very big danger. People recognize this and asking questions. I hope this awareness will rise more in the future. And according to my statistics on my profiles and on my show, I think I see that the number of people who are following my profiles and seeing my shows is rising rapidly in the last, especially 9 months, since there is no any more censorship on social media.
My observation of the British population as in general is that whenever lockdown happened, that was something which government did, which was directly in their faces, and therefore they couldn't ignore it. And that motivated a lot of people to get involved in pushing back against that policy. And since that event has more or less disappeared, and other issues have taken over as being the issues of the day, because people don't perceive this as being a direct, immediate threat to them, they have stepped back from resisting what's going on. So in Croatia, are you seeing the same type of thing, or are people actually able to see that if that a policy which is maybe not very mature yet is coming down the road and is going to have a similar impact to they felt in 2020 and 2021?
I think, according to comments on social media especially, for example, when you see there is some article about future pandemic, some new disease, and when you read these comments, from 100 comments, all 100 of them saying that it's a lie. Nobody is believing. That means it's not anymore innocent statistics. It's 100 of 100. And we can see now the trust in vaccines in Croatia dropping down, even for these pediatric vaccines. All trust in public health authorities dropping down. That's, for me, it's confirmation that people knows what was happening during pandemic, even that still this mainstream media and official politics still repeating the same mantra from 2020 and 21, and doesn't want to admit that they were wrong. But, you know, I think the impact of alternative media, like mine and yours, are rising now, especially in Croatia. And more and more people believe in alternative media than in mainstream. That happened in the United States. We all knows that just this year they admitted that influence of alternative media in the United States it's higher than legacy media. And I think it's happening same thing in Europe and in Croatia. Not that fast as the United States, but I recognize pattern that whatever happened in the United States 2 years later come in Europe. In this time, I think it will come faster, because we see already now that Europe is giving up of some their politics because of pressure from side of United States. Maybe the best example is this policy according green transition, where lots of people now asking questions it was the right choice, because we know that the United States is leaving Paris Agreement, and if we want to stay competitive for the future, we need to think about our policies. That's just one example, and I hope these things will happen in all other things. Still, I am a little bit afraid, because from side of Brussels coming lots of attempts on our freedom of speech. And this new European Media Freedom Act, it's not media, it's not Freedom Act. It's a way how politics can influence on the most important information. And this board, what they are supposed to have, it's a political board, because it's built of people who are politically elected in each country. And that means, and also it's supervised by the European Commission. And if you need to make report to the European Commission and receive money from them for your work, then you are not independent. And that was happening with this European Media Freedom Act. Attention was to protect journalism, but construction and infrastructure looks like a control grid. Same thing I see with the central bank digital currency. You know, they are telling us that it's for our better use of money, technical activities, and also inclusion for people who doesn't have account. But infrastructure sees that as a possible to control grid. And people recognize it. People saw this in the pandemic, and I hope that very soon I see some also waves coming from United States that we will discuss openly about big mistakes from pandemic. I'm here talking about just the last President Trump message from Truth Media, where he first time in his mandate asking question, is war speed was really so successful as I thought? And that's for me, it's preparation that very soon from the United States will come some kind of new revealing what was really happening during pandemic.
What's the average Croatian person's attitude to the European Union? And particularly, I suppose, what is people's attitude towards the war policy?
I think the majority of Croatians doesn't want to go to war. We are here specific because we were in war just 35 years. I'm a war veteran. I have experience in war, and lots of people in Croatia had some memories from that period. And I think it will be almost impossible to take people from Croatia to any kind of war, even for NATO. At the same time, our president, who is important in that case, because a prime minister has the biggest power, political power in Croatia, but president is the one that have a power on veto for this kind of activities. That means for sending our troops anywhere. And he's saying already for a year that no Croatian soldier will be anywhere out in this mission of supporting Ukraine. Croatia officially supports Ukraine with the military, military equipment and money, but not with soldiers. And according my feeling and also reading atmosphere here, I believe that it not be easy to bring Croatians in war. Beside that, we accepted that we will increase money for rearming from 2% what we have now of GDP to 5% in the next 10 years. But they didn't discuss this in Parliament seriously. This is something what we accepted according to this agreement from 25th, I think, of June this year, where they agreed to increase money for rearming Europe, exactly Croatia in this case. But things in meantime can change, because I see that economic crisis, what is now, we see it's coming from France, from Germany, will come in Croatia very soon. And I know that when people start to feeling in their pockets lack of money, and then they will start to asking questions. For now, we are still living from this new next generation EU fund. That was a big fund what was created in 2020 for recovering from pandemic. That's, I think, 750 billion euros. And we are still receiving this money this and next year. But after that, they will be only repaying back loans and not receiving any new loans. And then our budget will feel this very strong. For sure, people will recognize that there is not anymore this free money what we were receiving for the last few years.
But sticking with the war issue for a second, is a general feeling among people in Croatia that they support the war, or is this war policy, the support for Ukraine, happening in spite of people's feeling? And what are people's feelings towards Russia, in fact?
Well, we can see this same thing like in pandemic. We see this one story was coming from mainstream media. And mainstream media is saying the same narrative. Russia is aggression. They attack Ukraine without any provocation, and Ukraine need our support, and it has to be a fair peace. Russia has to move from Ukraine. This is the same story. But people personally and also around are aware it's not really that way, and that is just official narrative from Brussels. If somebody asks them to go in a war for anybody, I believe that more than 50% people in Croatia will not accept it. And I don't think that's the only reason for this war is because Russia went to Ukraine on February 2022. Lots of people know that this war started already in 2014, even before. That was a coup in 2014 in Ukraine. Lots of people know huge influence from side of United States in Ukraine, and everybody knows that there was also some not really, well, we can say legal things happening in Ukraine, because we know, and everybody hearing about this corruption, what is presented all around. We support it as official politics in Croatia, but ordinary people recognizes that this is not completely truth. I'm sure that nobody, as a regular people in Croatia, has anything against Russians or Ukrainians. I don't talking about official policy. I don't talking about Putin or Zelensky. I'm talking about people, because we have lots of connections there, not only for trading, also families, and we know what was happening. And people are not ready to fight against any nation in Europe and in the world. And for that, I'm sure. That means if anybody tries to press them, push them in the war, they will fight back. But I think very soon we will have a chance to see, am I right or wrong?
You know, something else that's going on in the UK in particular, but actually in other parts of Europe as well, is that the issue of regular migration and migration in general is becoming a big issue. And it's clear that in Britain, at least, there are elements that are taking advantage of people's concerns with respect to rising populations and the lack of infrastructure investment to support those rising populations, and the pressure that that's putting on the society. But there's no question that those concerns are being stoked up and are being people's worries are being driven by certain elements. Are you seeing anything like that in Croatia?
Yes, for sure. This month will be first protest against immigrations, not immigrations like people who are coming in Croatia, no, for people who are working in Croatia, because it seems to that all the bad low-paid jobs stayed in Croatia because people from India or Pakistan or Nepal are ready to take over these jobs. You know, Croatians, if they want to higher paid jobs, they are living in Europe. And now we have possibility, we can find job everywhere in the Europe. And it's very easy, especially for people with a high education, to find job in Europe. And they will not stay in Croatia and to have low income jobs. That's why we have lots of people from Nepal, from India, Pakistan, who are ready to take over these low-paid jobs. Now, we are aware that was not good policy, not because of these people, because it's a stupid policy. Because if you have economic policy when you are ready to increase number of people who are have low income, then you're making your country poor. We need more people with a high income, not with a low income. We are ready to accept here, for sure, my personal opinion, whoever come with a capital here, or with a high education, with the special skills from Nepal or India here, he is very welcome because he will bring something here. He will add to our value in economy something. For example, new knowledge, new skills, even money. But when they come in here because they are poor and they are still will be poor in Croatia, that means we will be center for low income jobs. This is for sure not clever policies. That's why we still don't have in lots of these immigrants. Still there is a limitation. But first time, as I said, this month, it's organizing protest against immigration because that was stupid decisions, first thing. And second thing, we are now see what is happening in the United Kingdom, in France, in Germany, in Sweden, in Netherlands. We recognize this pattern and say, we don't want this to happen here. And that's why now people are starting to wake up and asking questions. We here in Croatia have a big problem with our birth rate because it's declining already for years, especially after pandemic. After they roll out first vaccines, suddenly 9 months later, we recognize huge decrease in birth rate. And still it's happening, and this is a big problem. Even politicians recognize it and now investing more money in this policy. But we are not ready to be replaced with the people from that we don't have any add value. We are very similar to Europeans. We have a similar history, similar culture, and even similar religion. And it's not so very hard for us to adopt in Germany, in the United Kingdom, in France. But we see here that people from Nepal or India doesn't adopt. They are living together in these ghettos. They are making friends between each other, not with Croatians. And they are not ready to learn our language still. It's not easy to learn our language. You know, it's Slavic language, and there are completely different roots of these languages. But anyhow, we are ready, as you see. I'm speaking English. I can adopt in the United Kingdom immediately. But they're coming here and don't speak Croatian language. And if they don't, that means we need to talk to them in English. And it's a problem. Why? Because Croatia is old, a few hundred years. We are very old natives here already from the, well, somebody says even first and second century, somebody says 7th century, doesn't matter who is right, but it's a long time, and we kept our language, we kept our culture, we kept our religion, and we still want to keep it, because especially we were fighting for this during War for Independence in 91, and we are not ready to give up on this.
You're talking about low birth rates, and of course that's to a large degree the justification for the migration policy that's into the United Kingdom as well. What do you think is the root cause of that in Croatia?
Well, I can only say my opinion, but I think for sure there is some studies who can show this. My opinion is that I think cost of living and way of living has changed. And now, if you want to really to have few kids, 2, 3, we need to have more than 2 kids. You need to earn lots of money to go them through education, through health system, and to finally bring them ready for a future. Still, we are not economically developed enough, and lots of people have still low income. We are below the average on Europe. And in these circumstances, it's not easy now to have children. One example we can see now that price of square meters of apartment is huge. Can you imagine when you can find here between 5,000 and 7,000 euros per square meters in Croatia? That's huge, especially when we know we have a declining in birth rate and we continuously investing in new apartments. That means this is not a realistic price, but young families cannot afford it. And for sure, this is one of the most important reasons why they can't have more than 1 or 2 children. Things can change. It can change fast, but I think policies still didn't take it seriously enough. Maybe it's already too late, because if I'm right, in some Europe countries, birth rate is so low that even it's not possible to recover in the future. And if this is reality, that means Europeans, what we had before, will vanish maybe in next 20 to 30 years.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a really major problem. European countries, France, Germany, UK, with such low birth rates, aging populations, economies that have been engineered to reduce the possibility of people having children, as you say, being able to afford children. And the price of housing is an absolutely key part of this. Also, the need, because of the price of housing in the UK, at least, when it used to be, 40 years ago, that somebody could afford to buy a house on one person's salary, and now 2 people's salaries are required just to get the mortgage to pay for the house. And even then, it's really difficult for them. And so with 2 people at work, they then have to pay for childcare, which is extremely expensive. So it seems to me that this is an economic situation that is unrecoverable, as you say, without some significant structural changes. And it's not something that people can do themselves easily. It's something that needs policy changes at government level. And so how do you think because do you think that the people coming out protesting against migration is going to solve anything? It's not going to cause the economic policy to be changed necessarily, and therefore it's not going to remove the need to have young blood coming into the country somehow.
I think that low birth rate is the biggest problem in Europe and in Croatia, but politicians are not aware of it. They are now talking about some war.
You really think they're not aware of it?
Not enough, because I see what are their decisions. You can see policies according to the amount of money that you invest in something, and they're not investing enough in rising birth rate. They just invest more than before, but not enough. Things has not changed, and I don't think it will change. I think that this will continue, and the solution will come for sure. Not in a good way. I think it'll come from United Kingdom or from Germany or from France, because you really have a huge problem with this, and you need to find a solution immediately. And whatever solution you find, for sure, it will be discussed in Croatia also. And you need to know that Croatia is a border of Europe. That means the first coming in Europe is through Croatia from the east. And lots of people had a hotspot in Croatia. That means in case that something changed, people will come in Croatia, and we need to take care of them. That's also a huge advantage for Croatia, because we are, as you know, we are keeping borders of European Union. But I think, as I said, that this solution will come from side of these countries, what are now are aware that this is the biggest problem, and Croatia will follow. I'm a huge criticist of Croatian government, and one of the biggest critics is that they're just following Brussels decisions. They don't taking any decision of their own. They give up all our sovereignty completely. Officially, we give up of our borders, what is good. That means borders to European Union. We give up of our monetary system, what is very bad. And also we give up of our old policies because we are listening Brussels and we are not asking questions. Our prime minister is a soldier of European Commission. And all of us knows that European Commission is looking to increase their power, federalization, and they are not elected from nobody. And that means unelected bureaucrats want to take over power. People recognize this. But it seems that our prime minister doesn't care because maybe he thinks that he will be one of the people, of these bureaucrats who will have this power. That's why I don't think that Croatia will have any independent policies about this. They will listen whatever happened in Brussels.
For those that don't know, Andrija, just tell us all the countries that border Croatia and give us a little bit of insight into the relationship or the relations that exist between Croatia and those countries.
You mean borders on east?
Yes.
Well, for people who doesn't know, Croatia was a member of one bigger country until 1990. That was Yugoslavia, and we were one of the 6 different republics. That was 6 republics and 2 different small counties. Unfortunately, during the war, we didn't split with peace. We split in the war. And now from this country, Slovenia and Croatia are now members of European Union, and all other countries on our neighbor like Bosnia and Herzegovina, Serbia, and Montenegro are not members of European Union. They are pledging to become, but still not. And that's why Croatia is one long border of European Union, exactly of Schengen. And people from neighbor countries like Bosnia and Herzegovina and Serbia are speaking the same language. And that means we understand each other, and we lived in the same country for 45 years. We have lots of relatives. I personally coming from Bosnia and Herzegovina. My family was born there, and that means it's not that we can say hard to keep this border because we are well known each other. But when we are talking about this international crisis like immigration, for sure, people in Serbia and Bosnia will live through their countries' immigrations to come to Croatia, and they will not stop them. That's why we need to keep our border very safe and keep everything very legal. We don't need to accept anybody who is illegally in our country.
As you say, 1990 there was conflict. What are relations like now between Croatia and Bosnia and Croatia and Serbia, for example?
Unfortunately, not good. Why? Unfortunately, during this war, what happened? There was a big tension between nations. There was a different nations: Croatia, Serbians, and now they're calling Bosnians exactly Bosniaks. But they're a Muslim part of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Now they are a nation. Before we called them only according to their religion Muslims. And there was a huge attention and unfortunately lots of killing. And we are still remember this killing. And people, for example, President of Serbia, Aleksandar Vučić, was deeply involved during the war. And he was one of politicians who was coming to Croatia and who left a very unpleasant speeches there and talking about, tension between nations. And now he is in charge in Serbia. And still, whenever he needs something to gather their people, he said that danger is coming from Croatia. No danger is coming for Serbia from Croatia. They're using this danger, so-called danger, their policy tool for uniting their waters. Same thing is in Bosnia, because unfortunately in Bosnia and Herzegovina, after Dayton Agreement, we didn't settle these things. It was the idea to have one country that will have a same constitution, same parliament, but unfortunately, after already 25 years, not 30 years, sorry, 30, it was in 1995, that didn't happen, especially for Croats, because Croats doesn't have a really rights like other nations in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And now in this present situation, we have also big crisis with Serbian part of Bosnia and Herzegovina, because president of their part is now charged from side of court, and he's not allowed anymore to run in politics. And there's a huge attention there, and who knows what will happen from this. That means because of these instabilities, we can see now in Serbia what is happening, protests for already 1 year. For 1 year, they are protesting there against the government, and now they are looking for new elections. And that's a huge political instability in Bosnia and Herzegovina and Serbia. And that's why we are not really build this relationship on the way that we should for a future, because if Bosnia and Serbia come in the European Union in the future, for sure, we need to have good relationships like we have with Slovenia or Austria, Germany, Hungary, all members of the European Union. These things will be very unstable in the next period. I hope that Croatian government will be clever in this, because we need to be in good relations with neighbors. What is the most important for every person? It's to have good relations with their neighbors, because if you need any help, you first come to neighbors. If you have any danger, first one who can protect you is your neighbor. That's why we need to build good relations with our neighbors. But according to present policies, we didn't succeed.
Do you think that whenever the war ended, that certain things were left unresolved with a view to creating tensions again in the future?
Well, there is still unresolved things between our countries. Unfortunately, there is still missing people. More than 1,700 is missing dead people. And we still didn't get completely support from side of Serbia, who is responsible for this conflict in Croatia. And also we didn't receive, because there is also part of political parties who are looking for compensation from Serbia. And as a member of European Union, we will look for compensation from side of Serbia, because we cannot forget that official policy of Slobodan Milosevic, who was finally in The Hague, and almost he was not convicted, but because he died. But for sure, his policy was responsible for this conflict, first in Croatia, then in Bosnia and Herzegovina, because his policy was that whole Serbs live in the same countries. And it was not possible, because in Croatia was 11% of population was Serbs. And because of these policies, major conflict came, and we fought, and we still have unsettled things from this war. People, or ordinary people, regularly travel to Serbia. Serbians travel to Croatia. They don't have any problems. We can see foreign plates from Serbia in every city in Croatia, and nobody really have any negative attention about them. Lots of young people from Croatia going in Belgrade to celebrate. We know that people are in good relationship, but politics officially, as I said, is not. And a few of these reasons I said here.
There is the potential that this could escalate again at some point in the future, or is that just not going to happen?
There is a potential for crisis, for sure. And it's continuously present. I'm not sure if it's a really threat or if somebody has an interest to keep this tension there and to light a fire when they will need it. Even some comments here and people who are analyzing thinks that there is a huge influence of side of a global interest in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And if it will be interest to maybe make some conflict there, for sure they will do their best. We see some signs of it here. I cannot confirm it's coming from there, but it looks like. And I hope that people will be more clever than they were before, and they will not accept any kind of conflict. We don't need any conflict. We don't want. And we can live together with these people for prosperity in abundance. But we know also, we are aware that politicians usually have different plans. Still, unfortunately, I can confirm there is a potential for conflicts in Balkans.
Right. So just to finish, I mean, the reason I asked that question was because, you know, at the beginning of this conversation, you were saying how much people had learned as a result of the pandemic and so on, and how aware people are of the forked tongues that politicians speak through and the mainstream press and so on. I'm just wondering whether that goes right across all policy areas, or whether there may be one or two areas where people are still a little bit blind to it.
Yes, for sure. Still, people are unfortunately blind on these conflicts between nations, because they are too emotionally involved. They are not thinking usually always rationally. And that's why it's easy to make conflict, because still there is a huge emotional involvement in this topic. That means between nations. But concerning the global crisis, concerning the global policies were coming in Croatia, I'm here optimistic, because recognizing this kind of new policies are huge now, much more than was 5 years ago. I can compare it for sure. I can even make some smaller investigation because I'm connected with lots of people, and when I start to hearing from them who were skeptic before, who thought that I was just conspiracy theorist, now they recognize that there is a lack of conspiracies, because all of them are now fulfilled. And now they're coming to me and say, you were right. And I hope that means that they will pay more attention on things that are saying my guest in the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. But it's whenever the topic is something which people are particularly emotionally attached to in some way. In the UK, it is without question immigration. In Croatia, by the sound of things, it's still some of the situation that has not been resolved since the conflict in the 90s. So it's the emotional aspect of this that people need to somehow separate themselves from and be a bit more objective about what they're witnessing.
That's right. Think rationally, analyze, be critics about everything. Don't believe in mainstream media. Check out whatever they say. Don't trust the government. Government is not working for you. They're working for some other interests. And when you do all this homework, finally you recognize what is the truth.
Okay, look, let's leave it there for today. Andrija, thank you very much for joining me. It's been a really interesting conversation. Hopefully we can do this again soon. Just once again, just tell everybody how they can see your work.
Well, you can find me on my, of course, Facebook profile under my name, Andrija Klaric, and also you can find a website. That means Slobodni Podcast. I'm not sure that I can spell it right, but if possible, just put it below this line, slobodnipodcast.hr. That's on the Croatian part. But if you look for me in Facebook under my name, and there is my picture with my kids, then you can find all connections and follow me. And of course, also there will be connection to this television, where I have each Sunday on 2:00 p.m. Central European time my show.
Fantastic. Well, we will put those links in the show notes under this video. So, Andrija, thank you very much for joining me, and hopefully we can do this again soon.
Thank you, Mike, for inviting me, and it was a pleasure. All the best to your viewers.